the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Here in the land of the not so free. Whoa. 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 I'm not interested in photo ops.
Extendivite really works. Just listen to what some people have to say.
About 6 months ago, my wife bought Extendivite. She didn't tell me she was giving it to me. So after about 3 days, I said, maybe the weather's changed or something. I said, my legs feel really good. And she goes, well, I've been giving you this stuff, and it was the Extendivite. And you know that I'm about 75% better. I can actually climb stairs now, and I can get up out of chairs. I can even get down and, I got to work under a table or a computer table and work on a computer. I can actually get back up off the floor. You know what? It's an amazing product. I didn't think anything short of having surgery was going to help.
Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid. Call now. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extend.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show. It is Friday, June 22nd, 2018. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Pauhana Friday, and heading into a weekend. We have got a lot of stuff to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, opinions, and so forth. And a quick little reminder, the lovely Lady Claire will be joining us in hour number 3 today with her unique perspective on the world. And next week, we're going to have 2 guests. On Wednesday, it'll be Don Wiskin from Extendivite. I like to have him on the show every once in a while because I think it's a great product. And then we're also on Thursday going to have Kenneth Amaduri talking about some of the ramifications of artificial intelligence and how far along we really are to artificial sentience. Okay, so let's get right on into it. Over in the war zones, there are new U.S. coalition airstrikes on government positions in eastern Syria, and they basically struck a village, Al-Sha'afa village in Deir ez-Zor. And apparently it was a major attack that left multiple civilians and at least 1 Syrian soldier dead. Now, the U.S. is refusing to comment, but we know that there's a lot of action in the air over Syria right now. Apparently, the U.S.-led coalition also hit the Syrian army near Atanf and caused quite a bit of damage there as well. So this is the United States, which is illegally in Syria, is attacking the Syrian forces for attacking ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And that right there tells you that ISIS and Al-Qaeda all along have been proxies for the United States government to try and reshape the Middle East. They weren't the horrible terrorists you were told. They work for the U.S. government. Now, apparently, getting into the Yemen war, the Iranian Navy is dispatching warships to the Gulf of Aden. Things are getting very, very tense over there. And the Iranian Navy has dispatched 2 warships to the Gulf of Aden, where a fierce battle is going on between the Ansar Allah movement, also known as the Houthis, in other words, the government of Yemen, and the Saudi-led coalition for the port city of Al-Hadaidah. And apparently Iran has sent a helicopter carrier and a naval destroyer. The deployment of Iranian warships in the area will likely complicate relations between Riyadh and Tehran, but it's not like they've been on real good terms anyway. Saudi Arabia is part of this coalition that wants to see Iran reduced as a regional power. Meanwhile, the Houthis have repelled another attempt by the Saudi-led coalition and its proxies to capture the Al Hodeida airport in western Yemen, recapturing most of the positions they had lost previously. So they've taken the airport back, and a few dozens of Houthi fighters were killed or injured as a result of the attacks. And as we pointed out yesterday, despite all of this going on in Hodeida, those dock workers are unloading the aid ships as fast as they can, and they know what they're risking. But they know how important it is that as much of that aid gets unloaded and into the heartland of Yemen before the harbor is lost. So this is going to be a major issue. Now, apparently, some of the Yemenites are accusing the United Arab Emirates of engaging in torture, much along the lines of what we saw in Abu Ghraib. A lot of it humiliating, a lot of it sexual. And the latest update is that witnesses are saying that the Yemeni guards working under the direction of Emirati officers are using various methods of sexual torture and humiliation. They film the assaults, and then they use the threat of public release of these pictures to coerce these prisoners into turning into informants on their own people. Now, the Houthis are capturing some of the Saudi coalition and discovering, to nobody's surprise, that a lot of them are some of these Syrian jihadis who got kicked out of Syria. But a job is a job is a job, and they just hopped on a helicopter ride down to Yemen and signed up to be part of the evil forces down there. Over in Israel, the extremist settlers continue to storm Al-Aqsa courtyards, and these settlers basically storm the compounds accompanied by, under heavy protection, of Israeli special forces and police. Now, this is definitely a provocation. They're trying to stir up a response. And one of the things they're doing, that as these settlers get into the courtyard of Al-Aqsa, they perform these Talmudic religious rituals, which of course is going to cause a state of anger inside the shrine. I mean, just for a moment, imagine how you'd feel if somebody walked into your church this Sunday and sacrificed a bull to Zeus. Just as one idea. All right, we're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network here. Israel has demolished 43 houses on charges that one of the residents had carried out resistance operations against Israeli targets. In other words, it's collective punishment, which is a war crime. And Israel seems to think that the more they abuse the Palestinians, the more the Palestinians will go away. Well, it hasn't happened. It only firms their resolve. I mean, think about London during the Blitz. The Nazis were absolutely convinced that these terror weapons, the V-1 cruise missile and the V-2 ballistic missile, just coming down out of the sky at random, hitting random targets in and around London, would terrify the British people into putting pressure on the British government to come to terms with the Nazis. The exact opposite happened. The more the wonder weapons fell, the harder the resolve of the British people became. And the same thing is happening in Gaza, and Israel fails to see it. They fail to learn the lesson from history. So there's an article over here in the original antiwar.com, No End to the Palestinian Catastrophe. And it's basically summing up what's been going on over the last 70 years. Back in 1948, 750,000 Palestinians were forced out of their homes in order to make way for the state of Israel. Of the 8 million Palestinians, more than half currently remain stateless. Today, there are approximately 7 million Palestinian refugees, a third living in the occupied territories. Now, the United Nations has promised these Palestinians a right of return to their homes and villages that were taken from them for the creation of Israel. Israel, as a condition of its membership at the United Nations, agreed to this, that they would allow the Palestinians to go back and rebuild their homes and villages. And, of course, Israel has never allowed that to happen. So all that's going on down by that fence with Gaza, and this being Friday, we can assume that the protests are happening again today, the Palestinians are demanding what they were promised by both the United Nations and the government of Israel. And that is a perfectly reasonable thing for them to be doing. Now, King Abdullah of Jordan has stepped on into the fray, basically saying that he does not see any way there can be peace and stability in the Middle East without establishing an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital, living in peace next to Israel, which I'm sure the Palestinians are ready to do. It's Israel that doesn't want that. Israel doesn't want to coexist with the Palestinians. They want it all. They don't want to share Jerusalem. They want it all. They're already moving on East Jerusalem, trying to buy it all up or appropriate by quasi-legal means, just like they're carving up the West Bank with the illegal settlements. And King Abdullah is right. At some point, this could trigger a region-wide conflict. Now, over in Korea, and I'm scratching my head and wondering why he would do this, but apparently Donald Trump has decided to extend the existing sanctions on North Korea for 1 more year. And basically he's restricting fuel imports and other trade. Now, coming so soon after that summit that everyone says was, successful, and Trump was singing the praises of Kim Jong-un, and Kim Jong-un has sent back the remains of U.S. soldiers who died at the start of the Korean War, and they're talking unification and peace, and it's all going good. And Donald Trump just drops a big old monkey wrench into the gears. I mean, what is he thinking? He's out there saying that it's part of his maximum pressure policy toward the country. Well, you know something? The policy that you already had appeared to be working. And if you go back to maximum pressure as a policy, you're just going to annoy them. And we'll be right back at square one. Is that what you want, Donald Trump? Was this whole summit a charade so that you could act like you were the one who tried to make peace, but we're still going to have war? Because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. All right, let's turn to the domestic politics. There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now here, and Representative Mark Meadows is out there basically saying that he thinks the evidence against Michael Flynn may have been tampered with. And that's something that's been hinted at by insiders close to the congressional investigations. Now, Meadows is the leader of the conservative House Freedom Caucus and a close ally of President Trump. And he said that he and other lawmakers are finding evidence of possible tampering, an allegation he previously made at a House hearing, where Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz testified. And it's all coming on back to these 302 reports. And if you really think about it, these 302 reports are the weakest chain in the chain of evidence of any FBI case. It's the FBI agent's summation of a witness statement. And it's just a piece of paper. And yes, it can be tampered with. It can be completely rewritten. There's absolutely no mechanism to guarantee that what is on that FD 302 is actually what the witness said. So Mark Meadows has an issue, and it does reveal that the FBI does seem to have a means to be able to change the evidence in the case if they feel it's necessary, whether it's to convict Michael Flynn, to frame James Earl Ray, to declare that Vince Foster shot himself. That's something that should not exist in the FBI. There should be a much stronger chain of evidence regarding witness statements like actual recordings. I mean, I can understand in the days of J. Edgar Hoover when reel-to-reel tape decks were very heavy to transport and the tapes were lucky to store. But in this day and age of MP3 recorders, it doesn't make sense that they're still relying on FD302s, because Meadows is right. They can be rewritten. They can completely be changed. Now, Trump campaign official Michael Caputo claims he's got absolute proof now of Obama's FBI spying on the Trump campaign in early 2016, says that there were definitely 6, possibly a 7th intelligence informant inside the Trump campaign spying on them. And Caputo is out there saying that he's out there trying to find out more about, there's a new name, Henry Greenberg. And they found out that through the Immigration and Naturalization Service, that he signed under oath saying he was an FBI informant for 17 years in Iran and North Korea. This is bigger than Watergate. This is bigger than Watergate. It really is. Now, as you know, the hearings were somewhat upset over the fact that the Peter Strzok tweet or text message that we're going to stop Trump did not appear in earlier dumps of the Peter Strzok, Lisa Page texts. And they were asking, why weren't we shown this before? And everybody's pointing fingers, but it turns out it was Rod Rosenstein who hid that Stop Trump text. Now, there's a fireable action right there to do that. I mean, that could be considered obstruction of justice. And Representative Jordan said this isn't the first time Rosenstein has kept information from Congress. It's a recurring pattern. Now, Victoria Nuland, who's the person who outed the Christopher Steele dossier to the FBI in terms of it being bought and paid for by the Clinton campaign, is expected to testify before the Senate committees next week. Of course, over the weekend, she may get really, really, really depressed, or take a ride in a small aircraft, or decide she wants to walk around Fort Marcy Park, because these sorts of things happen to people who've got hard information on what's going on with the Clinton political machine. Now, the Uranium One story is coming back to life. Judicial Watch has filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Department of State for all records of communications related to Uranium One. And the suit actually was filed a little bit while ago, but they're announcing it just now. And Judicial Watch is, again, having to sue the agencies after they failed to respond to 2 December 22nd, 2017 Freedom of Information Act requests that Judicial Watch asked the Justice Department for. In other words, Stonewall, 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 Stonewall. There is nothing about Uranium One that is classified, and those records are all public property. The Department of Justice has no legitimate legal reasons to withhold them. Neither does the Department of State. They're covering up for the fact that there was a lot of crookedness going on. Now, the lawsuit is part of Judicial Watch's continued investigation into the highly controversial 2010 Uranium One deal. At the time, a Russian state-owned nuclear firm, Rosatom, sought to buy Uranium One, which is a Canadian mining company. But Uranium One held licenses for 20% of America's uranium production capacity. So the sale had to be approved by the 9 members of the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, including Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who of course went right along with the transaction. And Uranium One interests, the backers, the investors, contributed more than $140 million to the Clinton Foundation. So at a time when we're being told the evil Russians are coming to get us, Hillary Clinton and her cohorts transferred control of 20% of United States uranium ore into Russian hands, which they can then refine and make weapons with. And by the way, the United States really doesn't have that much uranium They need every bit they've got. We're already a net importer of uranium. So this was just crooked as all get out. By the way, supposedly there's a poll out there that says that 74% of Americans have not heard about the Inspector General report or that there's anything wrong with the FBI. And maybe, I mean, the good news from that one is 25% of Americans, 1/4 of Americans do know something's going on. And probably they're going to be talking about it with the others who don't know it. But it could also be an outright lie to discourage those of us trying to get that IG report out there by implying, nah, it's not working. You might as well quit. You know, forget about trying to talk about the IG report. Nobody's listening to you. That sort of dirty tricks propaganda gets done all the time. They lie about absolutely everything. And they could easily be lying about this as well. All right. Over at the website Zero Hedge, there's a very thoughtful article. And it's saying in a somewhat different approach what my concerns are about the coming end of the government of the United States of America. So we're going to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. And here on the radio show over the last, several months, actually, I make these observations about how things seem to be going in this country, the growing factionalism, the lack of civility, the rancor. It's almost like historical screaming has replaced actual political discussion. And there's a lot of anger and frustration out there. And in this article from Zero Hedge, it's titled, "Is the United States on a Road to Becoming Ungovernable?" And they point out here that the reason the American people will go along with the government, submit to its laws, pay its taxes, send their children off to wars, is that they believe that the government is working for them, and they're willing to submit to the authority of the government. But when that falls apart, which is what's going on right now, when the American people come to understand the government is all about itself at our expense, then they stop filling out the paperwork, they stop sending their kids off to war, they stop listening. And yes, the nation does become ungovernable. And it's another way of saying that we are headed for some kind of a collapse. I know that in TV and movies, dictatorships are often portrayed as being just that. I'm the tyrant, you will do what I say. Yes, master, yes, master. No. That takes a lot of work to literally imprison and guard an entire population. It's much more efficient and economical to lie them into believing in what you're saying. Adolf Hitler was voted into power. He looked good to everybody. He even looked good to Time magazine at one point. He made Man of the Year because of the economic changes he brought. It's only in hindsight, looking back, that we realize there were some things he did that probably weren't very nice. But then, in hindsight, looking back on pretty much any world leader, you're going to see some things that didn't look very nice, like Pol Pot and Stalin, for example. Hitler hardly has a monopoly on that sort of thing. But I'm seeing a lot of people who are expressing that they don't see how things can go on the way they are now much longer, that something has to break. Maybe it's going to be the economy, maybe it's going to be we actually get into a war and lose it, or it may just simply be that this political infighting in Washington, D.C. is going to tear that central government apart, and the separate states are going to go back to being separate states. Now, over at ABC, because of union contract rules, ABC is still on the hook for the entire season of Roseanne. And what they have decided to do is they're bringing it back to the air. They're renaming it as The Conners, because Roseanne Barr will not be involved in the show. But it is a high-rated program. It's been, I think, top-rated for 3 years. It's one of their flagship programs. They don't want to give that up. And they're still negotiating on all of this, and apparently the big holdup are the negotiations with Roseanne Barr herself, who's going to have to agree to some kind of a buyout for her contract. So we'll see how rancorous that can get. Some of these negotiations can get really out of control. And if you're my age, you probably remember when Johnny Carson left the late night show on NBC, and there was this bitter fight between David Letterman and I'm blanking on the other comedian. I'm sure it'll come to me. I was actually working at NBC at the time, and the stuff that was coming through the rumor mills about the dirty tricks and the blackmail, and they were just fighting for that like crazy. Anyway, let's get on to the economic news. The U.S.-China trade war is already spinning out of control. the tariffs have already escalated way beyond what the original targets were going to be, because everybody's trying to play, we're going to one-up you, we're going to one-up you, we're going to one-up you. And so Trump says we're going to impose 10% tariffs. China retaliates. Trump retaliates. China retaliates again. And it's a real problem. Right now, the total amount of tariffs the Trump administration has proposed is from between $500 billion and $800 billion, or about 4 times what had originally been proposed. Now, for some strange reason, all this last week, concerns over the trade war have driven the stock market down, but today it ended up. Those money junkies had their traditional Friday happy ending. And I was watching Fox News, and they're saying the stock market surges despite trade war fears. No, it's being rigged. The plunge protection team always shoves it up into the green on Friday when they can. So everybody has a relaxing weekend. All right, we're going to take another break for commercials, and we will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Withoout the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And looks like we've got a caller on the line. So let's go to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. You know those tariffs that are being put on by China and the United States, Canada. You know who pays for those? Obviously.
Yeah, we do.
People don't really understand that concept. Yeah. So
it's another form of government taxation.
If Donald Trump puts, pardon me?
It's another form of government taxation. It's a hidden tax. It's a tariff on the product. And a lot of people don't realize they're paying it. But yeah, when that price goes up because of the tariff, you're paying that money, and that money basically goes to the government.
Yeah. Well, one way or another, I mean, it looks like Donald Trump's gonna balance that budget.
That's going to take quite a few tariffs here.
On the backs of the poorest people.
Well, because our consumer economy is so weak, what is actually going to happen is people are going to stop buying things, and they're going to pull back their spending habits even better, which means China won't be selling their products here in the United States, and neither will the new American companies coming online to replace them. You don't have trade wars when your consumers don't have ammunition.
Got that right. That's exactly what will happen, a collapse. And that could be, that could very well be the collapse you're talking about. But then again, maybe not. I mean, the United States and, the country I live in, Canada, we've been doing the same thing for almost 50 years now, since 1971, and it hasn't worked. If anything, it's made things worse. Your country's in debt up to their eyeballs. The country I live is in debt up to their eyeballs. All Western society countries are in debt up to their eyeballs. So obviously this WTO is not working. These free trade agreements, they're not working. The banks, they're not working for us.
No, they aren't.
And I think probably that's the heart of the matter. That is what is really wrong.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, any nation in the grip of a private central bank that creates the currency out of thin air and loans it into circulation at interest, of course they're going to be buried in debt. That's the inevitable result. There is no other possible outcome when you have a private central bank issuing the public currency as a loan at interest. The debt piles up and piles up and piles up and piles up and can never, ever, ever be repaid. It's not a system of economics. It's a system of enslavement.
Yeah, exactly. And, just getting rid of that would cure so many problems all over the world. The world would just be totally different.
Of course it would be.
People would have the power back, right? I mean, it's just, nothing's ever going to change until they change that very simple fact of loaning a country's currency into existence. Nothing will ever change. They can tinker around the edges, but until that happens, there's no point even talking about anything else.
Nope.
That sore is so big and festering. I mean, you can't avoid it. You can't avoid seeing it. Canada has one of the worst debts, in this world. Consumer debt is just outrageous. Our housing market is finally dropping, and a lot of people are going to get wiped out if things continue dropping the way they are now.
Yes.
This trade war, it's not helping. Recession and or depression worse than what happened in 2008, 2009 is going to ensue, and there's nothing they can do. We're already at low interest rates. We're screwed.
Yes.
If it goes bad, we're screwed bad.
Yep. And there are a lot of people are saying that Trump's trade wars against China, Canada, Europe could throw us into a full-blown recession by next year.
Or worse. Right?
Yep.
We already got low. There's only, an inflationary recession. Oof, that was the 70s.
Yes.
That could happen again.
Yes.
Like we're on the cusp. I appreciate your time, Mike. You have a good show.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here, and the phone lines are open. Now, Iran is, shall we say, running out of patience with Europe. And they're saying that unless the Europeans are ready to start making some concessions or basically keep up their agreement, their promises, keep their commitments, that Iran may have to pull out of the nuclear deal in the coming weeks. But it looks like Iran has found the ideal way to push back on the United States for all the sanctions. And it has to do with the upcoming OPEC meeting. Because as you know, OPEC controls the price of oil by how much production there is. And most of OPEC wants to increase production to try and bring oil and gas prices back down. But the rules of OPEC are that all the member nations have to agree on it. And Iran is indicating that they are absolutely going to stand firm on the current lower production level in order to punish the United States with higher oil and gas prices. Now, this may split the cartel. There have been times before where OPEC has reached a point of impasse and it will just splinter. So that may happen as well. And if OPEC splinters and then everybody's out there selling their oil for whatever price they want, there'll actually be competition, and that'll really make oil and gas prices go down, which would be good for consumers here. Syria, meanwhile, is proposing to build a railway with Iraq and Iran just to establish this railway link. This is coming from the country's Minister of Economy and Foreign Trade, Mohammed Samir al-Khalil. And the proposal came during a meeting with Iran's first Vice President, Eshag Jahangiri, to discuss the final steps to announce the strategic trade agreement between Tehran, Damascus, and Baghdad. They're all pulling together for mutual benefit, mutual economic activity, peace through commerce. Speaking of railroads, apparently the Borough Hall subway station in Brooklyn had a ceiling collapse on Wednesday. And yes, it's 100 years old, but it hasn't been kept up. And there was a 10-foot by 10-foot section of ceiling tile came crashing down onto the 4 and 5 subway platform. Fortunately, only one rider suffered a minor injury to the arm, didn't require medical attention. But it's another reminder, we're living in a wartime economy. All the work product of the American people that we don't need for our basic survival is siphoned off. And it's given to the military-industrial complex and Israel, and there's nothing left for us. They don't want to admit it's a wartime economy, but it is. And if you have relatives who are old enough to remember what World War II, what life in World War II is like, I'm not talking about the veterans, I'm talking about just ordinary people who lived through that with the metal drives and rationing. They'll tell you what living in a wartime economy is like, and we're actually closely there. When you look out and you see the decayed infrastructure, you see the vast numbers of homeless and hungry, this country is in serious, serious trouble. Meanwhile, over at Touchstone Connect, they have an article, Why is Israel so prosperous? And they're quoting the American Israel Cooperative Enterprise, which by their own admission says the total funds provided to Israel by U.S. taxpayers as recently as 2017 equals $129 billion with a B. The population of Israel is 8.5 million. Now, if you divide $129 billion by 8.5 million, you get $15,176 and change per man, woman, and child in Israel. If the average household has 3 people, that means the average family is getting $45,500 each. And that does not include the U.S. military involvement in the Mideast, which has run trillions of dollars. So $129 billion. Maybe we'll just stipulate that's a trustworthy number. It may actually be higher, probably is a lot higher, but $129 billion. To put that in perspective, remember that the entire cost of the Apollo moon program was $25.4 billion. So Israel has cost the American taxpayer 5 times what it cost to go to the moon. And we haven't gotten a giant leap for mankind out of all that money. We haven't even gotten an updated Velcro. All we get is the hand stretched out again, asking for more. All right, so let's talk about this immigration issue because despite Trump signing the executive order, the Democrats are still fanning it up. And they appear to be planning on using this as the campaign issue going into the midterms in November, along with the fact, of course, that they're doing everything they can to distract America from the Inspector General report. I mean, if you look at the really cozy timing, all of this stuff about separation of children has been going on all the way back to the Bush administration. And it's only when the Inspector General report is released that all of a sudden the Democrats are saying, oh, the children, the children, the children, the children, they're being separated. Well, let's do a little reality check here, because as it turns out, the reason there are so many children in those detention centers for children is that 80% of the illegal children trying to enter the United States arrive without their parents. There is nobody to separate them from. Earlier in the week, we reported on how drug cartels are recruiting these kids and helping them get to the border and sending them across with a backpack full of illicit substances. They're met on the other side by somebody who takes the drugs, and then the kids are just let go until they're picked up by Immigration Customs Enforcement and taken to a shelter. A lot of these kids may be being trafficked. In fact, a lot of people are looking at the apparent lack of young girls as being a concern. Where did they go? Are they being preferentially kept home? Or are they being kidnapped and sold into trafficking on the way up to the border? So, story out of Zero Hedge. What kind of country are we? And they're talking about Time magazine, which ran the immigration children issue as their cover story this week. But of course, Time says nothing about the slaughter and starvation of children in Syria, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, and especially now in Yemen. The United States is basically responsible for a lot of kids being separated from their parents permanently, as in dead. But Time's only concern is down there at the border. Now, you need to remember Time's original publisher, Henry Luce, had a close relationship with the CIA. And the CIA traveled with Time Life credentials as cover in the 1950s. So they're part of the intelligence apparatus. Now, on the Time cover, it's got a red background. Over on the right side is a very stern-looking Donald Trump who's looking down. And in the middle of the page is this image of Yanala Hernandez, a 2-year-old Honduran illegal immigrant who is just crying her eyes out. And this image has become the icon of the separated child. It's been used all over the place. See what we're doing to these children, how horrible it is. There's only one problem. Yanala was never separated from her mother. The photo was taken as Border Control agents searched her mother, Sandra. It doesn't show a separated child. Children cry for all kinds of reasons, especially 2-year-olds. Probably the big scary guys with the guns touching her mother. Now, Time has now issued a correction saying that no, in point of fact, the little girl on the page wasn't a separated child, but could have been. Could have been. Now, as far as Sandra herself is concerned, she hasn't been separated from anybody. She did the separating. She left her husband, who, by the way, has a good job. She left her other 3 kids and then paid coyotes $6,000 to sneak into the United States twice. I guess she thinks that committing a crime in the United States is okay as long as you bring along a kid. Going to cross the border. I've got a kid. It's okay for me to do that. I'm going to rob a bank. I brought a child. It's okay for me to do that. Really is ridiculous here. Okay, Representative Mike McCall was on Fox and Friends on Fox News. He's chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. And he's out there saying that Democrats are not really working in good faith to resolve the border issue. They're just trying to fan it into a campaign platform for November. And I was watching this other newscaster who was pointing out that before Donald Trump's executive order, the Democrats were screaming, it's inhumane to separate the children from the parents at the border. Then Donald Trump signs the executive order, and the Democrats change the story and say it's humane to keep parents and children in these shelters at the border. It's a classic case. Doesn't matter what Trump does. Doesn't matter what Trump gives them. They're still going to go on out there and find something to complain about. Apparently, Melania Trump wore this jacket down on her border trip that has got all the liberal snowflakes knickers in a twist. So again, they're going to use this in the midterm elections. Now, I've been saying all along that we should remember that the real blame for all of this separation of the children and all of this issue is not with Donald Trump. It's not even with Barack Obama. It's not even with Bush. It's with the parents who bring their kids across that border, or the parents who bring their kids up to the border and send them across. That's it. And recent polls are apparently showing the majority of Americans agree. It's not Trump's fault. It's the illegal immigrants' fault. Let's put the blame back where it deserves to go. Because the illegal immigrants, let's focus on that word, illegal. They're criminals. They're breaking United States law. The Democrats want you to forget all about that because they're desperate for new voters. And the fact that illegal immigrants aren't allowed to vote, aren't supposed to vote, is irrelevant to the Democrats. They are willing to cheat you of your right as a citizen to vote, to dilute it, to water it down, and hand it off to the illegal immigrants. We got to take a break for a commercial, and we got a caller waiting on the line. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go to the telephones now to Laura in Michigan. Aloha, Laura. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Rick Wild on True News said that whatever private entities are taking care of these children, they are charging the government $500 a day. He said that's why nobody's in a hurry to fix the problem, because so many people are making money off of it.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And this is why they're not just being turned back at the border. They're being grabbed, put into these professional internment camps, privatized internment camps, and they're held for 6 months. And then they get sent back. And yeah, it's all about milking more money out of the American people.
That's right. That's right. I just thought everybody should know that it's $500 a day for each one of these children.
Yep. Anything else?
It's a sad case, you know.
Yeah, it is a sad case. I mean, it's sort of the junior version of our prison industrial complex, where we've actually had judges who will railroad innocent people into prison because the city has a contract with the prison to keep the number of prisoners at a certain level. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're being treated like we're cattle.
Well, we are, aren't we, Goy?
Yes.
Is that cattle? Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, I just also the last thing, Trump wants to combine the Department of Education and Labor. That's a very, very bad idea, because that goes back to the Clinton regime, where they wanted the school to work, and that's a bad program, because what they want to do is kind of like the Soviet Polytechnical School. There won't be a liberal education. You're just going to learn what you need to learn for whatever job they're going to give you. It's not going to be an all-around education.
Well, I got to tell you, I have to play devil's advocate here and say that actually teaching kids to have some kind of job skills, I think, is a better way to go than this liberal arts education, which fills their head with a lot of indoctrination and makes them politically useful to the Democrats, but leaves them ill-prepared for real life, let alone a job with which they can repay the student loans.
Well, let me give you an example. They do a test to see what occupation you'd be best suited for in 8th grade.
Yes.
And, okay, take Las Vegas. Maybe kids want to go to sciences or whatever, but isn't it funny? All the kids tested for hospitality, because that's what's needed in Las Vegas, okay?
Yeah.
So they're gonna give you whatever your area needs instead of what you want to study.
Well, I took one of those tests when I was in high school as well, and it was presented as a recommendation of where they thought I would be happiest and best, but I was never given to understand I was under any pressure to go along with that, and of course I didn't. My test in high school said I'd make a great architect, and I've never been into architecture. What I wound up doing ultimately didn't even exist when I was in high school. So I think there's a middle road there where you can provide guidance to the kids and not let and still let the kids choose where they want to go, but give them the opportunity to learn something useful rather than all this liberalized indoctrination. Anyway, we got to take a break for station identification. Thank you for the phone call. We'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth. What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to go right to the phones now to Dustin in New Jersey. Dustin, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
It's all about the children, Mike.
Yeah.
It's for the poor children. Yeah. What about the children in Syria? Not one aid package has come from Britain, France, Saudi Arabia, Israel, or the United States. What about those children?
Well, they don't count. We can't make political gain with those kids. They're unimportant. Children are only important if we can use them to attack the Trump administration.
Well, we did when it came with the white helmets with that one child, remember? He was on at CNN, the cover, and
Yep.
he had the dust all over him. And remember, Mike, remember the scene in Greece where the boat capsized? Remember? I think that was off Greece, and they moved the body to get a
Yes.
better picture of the
Yeah,
child.
I remember that one.
Mike, these people are dirtbags.
They
They're
are.
scumbags. You know, they don't-
are.
They just don't care. Yeah, I mean, they don't care about the children. You know, they don't care about our children.
No, it's
They
just more.
send
It's
their
more
own
props.
children off
It's,
to war.
yeah, these kids are being treated like props or like livestock, or any other money making asset in these detention centers, and it really is dehumanizing. And I think it would actually count as child abuse. And yeah, if everybody's appalled by the conditions these kids are being kept in, then the proper place to complain is the management of these for-profit detention center corporations. Those are the people who made the decision to have these little cages.
Well, now they're going to be on some of the military bases, these cages. I hope they ain't got military-age men that they're bringing in, because, these guys could be undercover, whatever, ISIS fighters or whatever. I mean, I don't know. But the same thing's going on in Europe, Mike. Like,
Yes.
It's the same plan. If you look, if you speak out again, you're against the children. Because they, like I said, they don't care about the children. They're using it as a political tool. And, like you always say, there's always multiple agendas going on.
True.
Hey,
and-
Mike,
and-
real quick, could you mention? Oh,
I was going to say, you need to remember that they keep saying children, 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 but certainly in Europe, most of these refugees are military-age men.
and Madeleine Albright didn't really care about the children, did she?
No, she didn't.
Hey, Mike, I don't know. I want to switch gears real quick. Did you mention the operation started in Syria against in Darar? Is that how you say Dayar?
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but they got 10,000 troops, 60 to 80 tanks, air support, artillery, and from what I was reading, they brought in these short-range ballistic missiles, which are earlier versions of that Iskander complex. And that's a serious weapon, man.
Well, looks like the jihadis are going to have a rough weekend.
Yeah, look out from above, huh?
Yes.
All right, Mike, have a good show. Thanks.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. And again, getting on back to this issue with the border, the corporate media and the Democrats are trying to sell the idea that this is all the fault of Donald Trump. And no, it isn't, because this policy of separating the children from the adults goes back to the Bush administration. And if you look at it, it actually does make sense. Yes, it's cruel to separate them, but the reality is the parents or the adults, not all of the adults with the children are actually their parents, which means the kids may be trafficked. But here's the point. They've committed a crime, and they're going to go to jail. Now, if you were to go downtown and rob a convenience store and you got caught and arrested, they'd put you in jail, and you would not be allowed to take your children with you into jail there. Why? Because you've committed a crime, and jails are very dangerous places for small children. So it is a good policy to keep the children safe. But Trump has got to shut down these for-profit detention centers. He's got to nationalize them or say we're going to use the military bases, and these detention center companies are going to have to go out of business. They're going to have to shut down because their incentive is to keep these immigrants in the United States as long as possible. And while they're here, the Democrats' incentive is to get them out of the detention centers and get them in a position where they can vote. All right, we're going to take another phone call. John in Austin, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I'd like to share a memory with of Joyce Riley with you and your listeners, if you don't mind.
Certainly.
It's 2 years ago. Was actually the day they had the Brexit vote in Britain. It was on the 23rd of June, which was a Thursday.
Yep.
And on the Friday, Joyce was taking calls, and she said, if anybody wants to talk about Brexit, yeah, fair enough. So I called in, and I just happened to notice that the date, the 23rd and the 24th of June, was the anniversary of the Battle of Bannockburn. Now, I got cut off with that phone call, and I had to call her back on the Monday because I found out I was actually supposed to go to an appointment that morning, which I missed because I wanted to phone Joyce, and I was looking for the letter with the phone number of this place I had to go to. The last 4 digits of the phone number were 1314, which was the year the Battle of Bannockburn was fought.
Getting
Now,
a little
later
Twilight
on
Zone on us now.
I heard Joyce and Josh, her co-presenter back then, happened to mention that they had one of Joyce's cats in the studio, and the cat's name, of all things, was Braveheart. Now, a lot of people think that William Wallace was Braveheart because of the Mel Gibson movie, but in fact, Robert the Bruce was nicknamed Braveheart because after his death, his heart was carried in a casket into battle with the Scottish armies. So I just thought, what were the odds of me making that phone call on the anniversary of Bannockburn, having a phone number 1314, and them having a cat called Braveheart in the studio? I just thought that's incredible.
Yeah, that is a bit of a stretch there. Anyway, John, thanks for the memory here, and thanks for the history lesson. And we're going to let you go here and get back to our show. We're also going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are rejoining our network. Oh, and by the way, a lot of people wrote in to tell me it was Jay Leno was the new host of The Tonight Show after Johnny Carson left. And it shows you how much I watch late night television. But I remember it was rancorous, and a lot of it had to do with Jay Leno's representation who then became his producer and just caused all kinds of problems. It was so. I think they actually made a made-for-TV movie based on that, and I saw that, and it's pretty accurate as to what was going on. All right, so get on back here. Do you know that Joe Scarborough actually tried to hint that the showers in the Children's Detention Center were gas chambers? He's trying to equate it with the Nazis and the Holocaust image. It's ridiculous. And one of the things that Melania Trump did on her visit was to debunk that fake narrative and say, wow, gee, it's just a shower, isn't it? But I mean, for Scarborough to do that tells you just how off the reservation political discourse has become in this country. It just gets worse and worse. Now, Michael Avenatti, who's the lawyer for the porn star Stormy Daniels, is now down at the border to represent the illegal immigrants. He's there to represent 50 mothers who were separated from their children after being arrested for crossing into the United States illegally. And according to mysanantonio.com, Avenatti appeared at a relief center in McAllen, Texas, and called President Donald Trump's border policy a blank show, adding it was by far the worst day of my legal career. And then he indicated he would be traveling the border and made a pitch on Twitter for new clients. Okay, and just where are these illegal immigrants getting the cash to hire this lawyer? And what's he going to do? These people have committed a crime. They're not legal U.S. citizens. They don't really have rights under our system. He's just grandstanding. He got a taste of media fame by being Stormy Daniels' lawyer, and now he's hooked. He's a stardom addict. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Over in Kansas, District Judge Julie Robinson has struck down the Kansas voter ID law, saying that it's really too burdensome for voters to have to show proof of citizenship during the registration. She claims it violates the Constitution and the National Voter Registration Act. No, it does not. It doesn't violate the Constitution to show proof of citizenship in order to vote, because citizenship is required to vote. Trump had better get a national voter ID law in place right now, or he is a one-term president. It's just embarrassing that we have this wide-open, fraudulent election system. The Democrats are openly courting illegals to vote in it. It's completely out of control. There's another poll out there showing that immigration is a major issue for voters, and racism and equality, two of the other favorite Democratic platforms, are dead last now. Now, the poll is indicating that the concern about immigration is not from those who think the immigrants should be allowed in, but who think the immigrants already in are getting to be a problem. Meanwhile, the melting pot is in trouble. And if you're not familiar with what I mean, back during the heyday of emigration to the United States, give us your tired, your poor, your teeming masses yearning to breathe free, the days of Ellis Island. And back then, the United States welcomed legal immigration because we had a lot of room in this nation that needed to be populated and developed. And it was called the Great Melting Pot because you had all these Europeans, you had the Irish, French, German, Czech, all over it coming on. It was called the melting pot. Well, today the melting pot seems to be melting down, and immigration, especially illegal immigration, is right now the most contentious and divisive issue energizing voters. And in Italy, the right and left literally united on the issue and voted in an anti-immigrant coalition. Up in Germany, their government may collapse over this issue. Trump is making this his signature cause, angering the liberals. And it may be the status quo is not sustainable anymore. Over in Great Britain, they're still dealing with the ramifications of this most recent vote on Brexit, the soft Brexit, which may be a Brexit in name only. But apparently the Tories' biggest single donor, Stuart Wheeler, is saying that Theresa May is a very bad prime minister and she needs to be kicked out. And he says she's doing very badly on Brexit. And he's saying he will not donate to the Tories until she's removed, until she's kicked out. So it's getting contentious over there as well. Over in Germany, Horst Seehofer, who's the interior minister and head of Bavaria's Christian Socialist Party, and Chancellor Merkel are, of course, engaged in this debate over the country's migration policy. And Merkel's been dropping hints that her best solution might be to just fire Seehofer. And Seehofer is saying, you probably shouldn't do that because that will collapse the coalition and we'll both be out of work. Except, of course, he's still going to be the head of Bavaria's Christian Socialist Party. So that's ramping up as well. Merkel, I think, is down to just a little over 1 week left on the deadline given to her by the political parties in Germany who want an end to this immigration madness here. Down in Italy, they're trying to sort of head off the migrant issue before they even get there rather than shove them onto Spain. And apparently Italy is getting ready to seize 2 migrant rescue ships in the Mediterranean. And the ships are called the Lifeline and the Seafuchs, operated by the German migrant rescue group Mission Lifeline. And apparently there are doubts on their legal status. They're flying the Dutch flag, but they may not legally be entitled to do so, which is a tacky no-no under maritime law. So Italy is going to seize the ships, and they will not be available to bring more people across. Over at Harvard Medical School, and I do not agree with this, they have had 31 former medical school deans, basically their pictures taken down from the wall. 30 of them were white. And it's like they're ashamed of, oh, all these people who ran this school in the past, we've got to get rid of them. And they're trying to say that we're committed to diversity and to social justice. But what about, instead of political correctness, a commitment to history? So the hospital's current president, Dr. Betsy Nabel, said the decision to take the portraits down was not made overnight. She said she wrangled with it for years, that the sight of all those white men would upset women and minorities who are training to become doctors. Well, you're talking about people who are going to be dealing with a lot of blood and a lot of guts and cutting into patients here. If they can't handle a photograph of a white guy, they don't have the intestinal fortitude to be a doctor. And taking down those pictures dishonors those deans and their achievements. It erases their legacy merely because of their race and gender. So Dr. Betsy Nabel is herself racist and sexist. You're not going to change the past by changing the history. It doesn't work that way. Those people were still the deans of the school. That cannot possibly ever change. Yes, there was a civil war in this country, and there was a flag of the Confederacy. By the way, the one everybody waves around wasn't actually it. That was a Confederate naval ensign. Hollywood popularized it because it was cheaper to make than the real flag of the Confederacy. Meanwhile, back at Harvard, going the other way, apparently, on the issue of political correctness, there is an affirmative action lawsuit saying that Harvard University is discriminating against Asian American applicants. And the Students for Fair Admissions is contending that were the admissions absolutely based on academic criteria, the Asian Americans would constitute over 50% of the students. And Harvard is out there saying that, you know, they're trying to keep everything balanced here. And again, they're being unfair. Now, I'm a firm supporter of meritocracy. If the Asian students are academically superior, they should get the admissions. And if American students aren't their match, that's the fault of the American education system, which, like Harvard University, has replaced education with indoctrination. Liberalism has created this illusion that young people don't have to study to get hard. They just have to whine the loudest or cry that the test was unfair. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a phone call from Doreen in Vancouver. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
These children that are coming in and they're housing them in camps and prisons or whatever, they seem to be all boys.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I think it's on the media all the time, and I think this is a smokescreen to hide what's going on in Gaza and Palestine. Because if the American people had the same information as with these children from where these refugee children or illegal children, if they had the same information of what's going on, what the Israelis doing in Gaza and to the Palestinians, it would be an outcry.
Of course there would be.
Yeah, and I agree with pretty well all you say, Mike, but I don't think they're not keeping those children for voting. They're keeping those children, especially all boys, and they look like teenagers or whatever.
Okay, Doreen, I got to put you on hold. We got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Okay.
My name is Don Wiskin, and at 42 years old, I suffered a massive heart attack, lost 35% of my heart to damaged tissue, and was supposed to spend the rest of my life on disability. What did I do? I took Extendivite, a garlic and cayenne mix of 7 herbs which rebuilt my heart and gave me back my life. For over 17 years now, I have made this formula available to you, so you don't have to suffer the same thing I did. Clean your blocked arteries and strengthen your heart and boost your natural immune system. I'm 60 years old now and I still work every day. To get your Extendivite, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. the network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. We're talking with Doreen in Vancouver. And Doreen, you mentioned that these illegal immigrant children who seem to be young teenagers are predominantly male. And you were wondering if they might form an army. And there have been a lot of people talking about this program where the Pentagon is trying to recruit from the illegal immigrants by promising citizenship after their tour of duty is over. And it may be one way of getting military forces out there without starting a draft here in the United States, which would cause an immediate outcry of the American people. The only problem I have with that is that this instant soldier created with this deal, they're not motivated. They're not emotionally connected to the United States of America. They didn't grow up here. It's a strange place. I don't see them being an effective and motivated fighting force.
Oh, well, I just thought that I know the military, the American military, will not fire on its citizens. We've been told that they will not do. So they may be recruiting them for that because, and you're right. It could be that, but it seems odd that just letting the children. And our TV news is saying that Trump instigated this and started it, and they particularly say Trump started this, and it wasn't. Obama initiated this with the children, separating the children. It wasn't Trump. Anyway, Mike, I just want to thank you so much for speaking out for the Palestinian children and the people, and I will be sending my donation in to you because it's my way of thanking and getting and help for the Palestinians. Thank you, Mike. I will be sending my donation in to you.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words and for the support for our efforts. And yeah, it is very frustrating to see Time Magazine and the U.S. corporate media just wringing their hands over the children down there on the border, who, let's be honest, are being kept in far better conditions than the children of Gaza are. But the children of Gaza, they don't rate it in American corporate media. Who cares about them? Who cares about the children? All the children have been killed in Syria or in especially Yemen. A lot of children dying in Yemen, or Iraq, or Libya, or Afghanistan. They don't count. They're collateral damage to U.S. foreign policy. All right, getting on back to the phones here. James in Seattle, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I'm a first-time caller, and I just wanted to thank you for at least almost 2 to 3 years of keeping me entertained and informed, especially at nighttime, at a really terrible job.
Thank you, I think.
And I just wanted to say, I know that you cover all the time both the problem of, legal and illegal immigration and the kind of, immigrants we'd love to have come into our country. But here in Seattle, I know you haven't been here in a while, but I think you would be surprised if you were to go on, like, say, Rainier Avenue, the old state road that goes down to the mountains. If just on the edge of Seattle here, I'm just on the cusp. We actually technically are in Seattle, but close to Renton.
Yes.
You would be surprised at how many North African folks have moved here. But the interesting thing is, I just wanted to give you this note, and maybe I could tell you more about it some other call, is that so many of them are getting picked up by Puget Sound Energy, FedEx, and getting all these jobs. From what I understand, these companies are getting incentives, affirmative action incentive for hiring, in quote, African Americans, and more or less displacing a lot of our regular, American black friends and folks that we've lived with for years.
So, but these African refugees, they're not U.S. citizens, right?
No, as far as I know, they are here legally. They're displaced. I mean, there's Somali, there's Ethiopian.
Well, that's all well and good, but these companies in Seattle shouldn't be offering them jobs. That's a Title VIII violation, and you know, if we really want to stop all these refugee problems, we got to stop these wars. But in a way, it's like America is being forced to pay for this war twice. We pay for the weapons, we send our kids off, and then as it moves on, we see our homes literally being counter-invaded by the refugees created by these wars. And it's putting further stress on our infrastructure and our economy and our society. And to me, we're self-destructing as a society from all these wars. We're losing this war. Doesn't matter whose flag is being hoisted at the victory parade. If we lose our country, if we lose our identity, then we have in fact lost the war.
I agree. And I just have a really quick question for you. I was curious. I've got so many things I want to ask and tell you, and I will do
James,
another call.
James, I'm going to have to put you on hold. We got another commercial break coming on up, and I'll come right back to you after these words from our sponsors.
Okay.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354, or visit MIG911.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it. at aroutfitting.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with James in Seattle. And James, you said you had another question you wanted to ask.
Yeah, it's a little bit goofy, but I just wanted to know, because I don't think I heard you mention it, but it's sort of I'll tell you what we have here, and I wanted to know what you had in Hawaii. When we were sort of close to the election, it started appearing in front of everybody's houses. Or not everybody's house, sorry, let me go back. In certain people's houses, there would be these signs they're putting out on the lawn, and it would say stuff like, "Love is love," we love everybody. Religion is religion. I don't know. They're just like water is life, like all this stuff. And then, of course, also on the lawns were the Black Lives Matter placards and stuff. And I was wondering if in Hawaii you guys got that as well.
Well, yeah, we get signs, all kinds of campaign signs. If you mean specifically ones that say like "water is life," no. The campaign signs here are basically what you'd expect: boilerplate, vote for this candidate because. And they're all over the place. We don't really have as much lawn space as other people do, so these signs tend to be sort of like cable tied to chain link fence and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, because what I wanted to say is, my fiance and I have noticed we are right on the cusp of this. I think it's now the larger of the two most Jewish communities here in Seattle, up on the hill, and very nice neighborhoods, very nice people, a lot of nice people too. Up on the hill, you've got the views, and then down here towards the street, we're across the way is sort of this community apartment area where all these Muslims have basically moved in recently. But what I wanted to say is we found that the Black Lives Matter placards, and I'll talk about the other one on another call, the Black Lives placards, or the little lawn signs, are never in front of anyone who's black of their houses. It's all the Jewish folks who are up on the hill. And these are well-to-do houses. We're only 2 miles from where Bill Gates lives. Okay. And these are all highly professional, people, highly professional. And it's just a strange thing because it's like the only people who have these uber liberal signs and the Black Lives Matter are on these lawns, and nobody else does. And I don't know. I just was wondering where all this came from. And is it national? Is it just Seattle, or what?
Well, there's one other aspect to keep in mind, and what you need to do is see how long those signs remain up there. If they remain up for a long time, then yes, the homeowners, for whatever reason, put them on there. But it's very common for people to plant signs on lawns not their own. And that has been an issue before, where they'll run down a street. Well, we saw it in 2016, where there were crews out there planting Hillary signs on people's lawns, and the homeowners there didn't realize the signs were there. And when they found them, of course, they'd tear them down. So that's a little bit of dirty politics going on there. But you're right. On the face of it, it seems a little bit strange.
Yes. Well, listen, Mike, that's all I got for today. And as we say, you have a great show, and we're all rooting for Claire, and she's my favorite. So anyway, so talk to you later.
All right, thanks an awful lot here. And yeah, the Lady Claire will be joining us here in about 25 minutes. And overall, she's doing better. You just have to take it one day at a time, and so forth. But we are going to enjoy having a bit of a weekend off here and get some rest. All right, getting on back to political correctness and the education system. We're dealing with these universities that used to be considered prestigious, like Harvard, and now Princeton. Princeton University is offering a course next semester that aims to teach students to, quote, read queerly, end quote, by examining, quote, the ways in which desire, gender, and sexuality are queerly told, end quote. The course is called Queer Literatures, and we'll explore several texts, including a memoir whose author asserts that being mean to boys is fun and a second-wave feminist duty. And just what jobs will students who take these courses be able to get after graduation to pay off those student loans? Second-wave feminist duty to be mean to boys. Boy, if somebody came on out and said being mean to girls was a second-wave masculine duty, can you imagine the screaming that you would hear? All righty. But you know something? All this political correctness on universities, it's coming to an end. It's self-destructing. Because apparently over at the University of Missouri, they got into trouble back in 2015, where campus social justice warriors scared the pants off school administrators as protests erupted over incidents on and off campus, both real and, most important, imagined, made up, fake. The demonstrations resulted in the resignation of the president of the University of Missouri System and the chancellor of the flagship Columbia campus. White students were harassed, threatened, and intimidated, and the resulting bad press led to a 35% decline in freshman enrollment and tens of millions of dollars lost in revenue, and it hasn't gotten any better since then. It turns out that shoving social justice nonsense down the throats of students is bad for business. First, No Whites Allowed Evergreen is on the verge of bankruptcy. University of Michigan looks to be following along very, very soon. And I can imagine young people are looking at what's going on these campuses and saying, they're expecting me to borrow $50,000 for this? I'm better off going to trade school. Most liberal arts college degrees are little more than a fashion statement. It's a status symbol. I have a college degree in tree bark coloring or some such nonsense. Now, this one kind of angers me a little bit. This is off of the Free Thought Project. And it's kind of interesting because over at this Anacostia High School in Washington, D.C., if a student has to go on a field trip, parental consent is required. If the student is going to be given a vision test in school, parental consent is required. Yet, students as young as 13 years old are being prescribed birth control at the same school without their parents ever being notified. These girls are being given prescriptions for pills and even IUDs. And again, it's all about indoctrination. The school itself is not doing very well. Only 1% of the students are proficient in math, and only 4% are proficient in English. But by golly, they're getting them pills out there. And here's the part that annoys me. Government can invade our privacy at will with street cameras, traffic cameras, read our emails, listen to our telephone calls, monitor our credit card purchases. Serious kinds of privacy invasions run amok, but parents cannot find out if their underage daughter is being given birth control by her school. Another story, this one coming out of Investment Watch blog. Actually, it's campus reform. As you know, the new craze in education is teaching about toxic masculinity, that boys shouldn't be masculine because it makes the girls feel threatened. It makes them feel inferior. So the proper thing is for boys to act like they are inferior to the women. And now apparently this Kathleen Elliott argues that Canadian psychologist Professor Jordan Peterson is out there saying that toxic masculinity should be taught to children starting in kindergarten. Now, kindergarten is where you have the kids who are too young to understand the big people lie, and they accept everything they're told, and it becomes the core of their emerging personality. There's literally a program to try and brainwash young males into just assuming they're inferior to females. And apparently Kathleen Elliott argues in an issue of On the Horizon that there are consequences of simplified toxic forms of masculinity in schools and society. It promotes such aspects of toxic masculinity such as physical strength and dominance and heterosexual prowess. And apparently those are all bad things in the politically correct universe. Physical strength is bad. Remember that the next time you get a flat tire, okay? As you know, the World Cup is going on. A lot of people are very excited. The World Cup fans, they take it seriously. Apparently, 2 fans literally drove from Europe to Russia in this vintage tractor, did 19 miles an hour, was its top speed. And they got there and everybody's waving. And apparently up in Sweden, these farmers took some hay bales and put colored covers on them to make it look like the flag, the Swedish flag. And they posted it on Facebook to show their support for their World Cup team. And they got hit with all of these complaints about, oh, how racist can you be? Or you're being racist by putting up the flag of Sweden when you're actually part of the European Union. And the so-called anti-racists filled up the comment section with just this vile hatred against the farmer and his wife. And that is something that we're seeing more and more of. The inability to win an argument on facts, law, and logic, and just this immediate resorting to hysterical screaming to get what they want. They're behaving like children. It's a tantrum. And if you've had younger siblings, or if you have a good memory and you're honest with yourself, or you're a parent, you understand every child goes through a tantrum phase. And my mother had the perfect solution, because my younger brother, when he started his tantrum phase, I want this, no, you can't have it, drop on the ground, kicking, screaming, pounding with his arms, and screaming at the top of his voice. Mom would just get a pan of water and wait for him to finish screaming, and on the next inhale, throw the pan of water in his face. That ended it. And maybe that's what we need to start doing to some of these liberals who are out there who are just screaming at anybody that refuses to conform to their fantasy land. Little glass of water right in the face. Now, there has been a Fourth Amendment victory. The United States Supreme Court, in a 5-4 ruling, basically said police must obtain a warrant before they obtain cell phone data to track your movements. And denouncing the now widespread tactic employed by police departments, big and small, of simply spying on Americans via their cell phones with no oversight, the Rutherford Institute had asked the Supreme Court to require police agencies to go through the process of securing a warrant before executing a cell phone search. So score one for the good guys here. And why was it a 5-4 ruling? Now, the Supreme Court isn't actually given authority over the Constitution by the Constitution. They just sort of grabbed it for themselves. But with that comes a responsibility that everything be judged by the Constitution. And there's no gray area in that Fourth Amendment. There's no gray area in the Fourth Amendment that says, well, you know, maybe we can let the police get away without the warrant in certain circumstances. It doesn't say that. It's an absolute. It's an absolute recognition of our right to privacy from government surveillance, absent evidence that we have actually committed some kind of a crime. They can't just go on fishing expeditions. Okay, apparently there is a new bug in Google Home and Chromecast devices that means cyber criminals could find out exactly where you live and blackmail you with the information. That's probably another reason not to have these devices in your home. One of the things that really concerns me is are cyber criminals able to listen in and discover when you're away from home? when they can come on over and break a window, come on in and steal a bunch of stuff. I remember several years ago in California, somebody came up with this really bright idea to require having the vehicle registration taped to the dashboard by the windshield of a car so that the police could see immediately, this being before computers in the police cars could come up with the information. And so the police could see who owned the car and proceed apace with writing the traffic citation or whatever it was they were doing. And they had to retract that one almost immediately because criminals were taking advantage of this. They'd send one of their member out to Las Vegas who would go through the parking lots at the hotels and casinos looking for cars with California license plates, copying down the names and addresses of people they knew to be there, calling back to Los Angeles to their counterparts, their partners in crime, who would then go rob the homes. Technology can be really good, but there's always that segment of society that's going to turn it to bad use. And I am very concerned with these voice recognition systems plugged into the internet. Over at the Electronic Privacy Information Center, which is a very good organization, they have an article that's coming on out saying that Google and Facebook domination has really ruined the internet for everyone. Because a lot of young people coming on up now, they think Google and Facebook are the internet, and they're not. They're just another corporate media platform, and they've inserted themselves successfully between the internet and the average ordinary consumer. And people of my age who used to, be out on the internet itself, we saw this coming. We saw this attempt to corporatize it, to turn the internet into just another content delivery service. And Epic's concern, of course, is the Google and Facebook's just reckless, widespread banning of articles by people based on race, religion, age, nationality, and other aspects. That they have grown too great in their power to influence decisions and decision-making and politics, and they're being exploited for that purpose by politicians. We'll be right back after these few words.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75% dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas. Yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're coming up on the top of the hour and the lovely Lady Claire. Getting on back to these behemoths, Google, Facebook, Twitter, so forth. The Boston Globe is now out there saying it's time for the breakup of Google under antitrust laws. And it's a legitimate argument because Google, and for that matter, Facebook, having established themselves pretty much as monopolies, they're basically taking it upon themselves to control what their audience can see. And that's not what they're supposed to be about. Google advertises itself as a search engine, and Facebook is a community forum. And they're not supposed to be filtering. Certainly not on the basis of politics and corporate interest, which seems to be out there as well. Now, getting on back to Peter Fonda, he basically called for child rape. He called the Secretary of Homeland Security a lying gash who should be whipped naked in public. And he still has his Twitter account. It's still up there. Meanwhile, Twitter deletes the accounts of any conservative who so much as jaywalks, like Milo Yiannopoulos, Roger Stone, Charles Johnson. Talk about hypocrisy and double standard. Now, as it turns out, Peter Fonda does have a movie about to come on out, and I don't know what it's called, and I don't care because I am certainly not going to go see it. Apparently, Facebook is now banning videos regarding Alzheimer's and dementia prevention. And unfortunately, Facebook and Google have become to succumb to the same corruption as the rest of the corporate media. They're accepting huge amounts of advertising from the big pharmaceutical companies, and now as a result, their content is being filtered. And Facebook is saying offering educational videos for improved health is not a business model, that Facebook tolerates it. And anything that teaches people how to avoid having to go to the pharmacy is going to get shut down. We have become totally, totally corrupt. By the way, we were talking the other day about the iPhone and the iPads and the update to iOS 11.4 drawing down the battery much more rapidly. Apparently, another problem has surfaced as well. Some users are reporting the software is crashing their iPhone, iPad cameras as well as draining the batteries. So really should be testing this stuff a little bit better. Meanwhile, over in Europe, they did pass that bill, which may make it impossible for memes to be used without violating their copyright law. The internet is under attack. The free and open net is under attack. All right, we're going to take a break for station identification. Back with the Lady Claire after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, the history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this gorgeous creature sitting to the right, left of me rather, is the lovely Lady Claire, who joins us on Friday, hour number 3, with her unique perspective on the world. So, Lady Claire, what is your first story?
Well, the first story I have, and it's something with which a lot of our readers and listeners have dealt with, and it's about cancer and whether or not to get chemotherapy, because they're just finally beginning to understand that when chemotherapy is used, they'll beat that cancer, and then there's another cancer that follows right on the heels. And I'm glad that some people in the medical community are starting to talk about this, because if ever something should happen like this, the last thing any cancer patient wants is another case of cancer.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, Mike, you've still got the,
okay.
There
Sorry
we
about
go.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. And
we need to have his and hers
Yes.
computers in the next studio.
And the studies that have been done have shown that chemo can actually trigger the spread of cancer into nearby areas of the body. And I mean, like what happened to our Jane,
Yes.
before she passed.
Boy, that was
Oh,
so fast.
yeah.
And Jane was one of the singers in Claire's choir, and we actually lost 2 of our singers to cancer over the space of 6 weeks?
Yeah, something like that.
And it was just amazingly fast. One of the singers had been dealing with cancer all their
Mhm.
life. Jane, it just came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and it just ripped through her. And it was just, I didn't even know that they did all that much chemo on her. That was Michelle that was getting the chemo.
Yeah.
But it was rough to watch.
And one study was carried out by researchers from the Ohio State University, and it showed how chemotherapy triggers the cellular responses that spur the spread of the cancer. And it's really something that people need to think about very seriously. Now, oncologists they're very sort of loosey-goosey, and I don't even think that they're giving people the best information. And I've got another article on that in terms of chemical contraceptives, but I'll get to that a little later. They discovered that breast cancer patients who were given Paxlovid chemotherapy had overexpressed ATF3 genes, a transcription factor activated by cellular stress. Those who didn't get the chemo didn't have an overexpression of this gene, and it causes cancer in two ways. First, it distributes cancer cells throughout the lungs, and then it primes the area to boost the cell's chances of surviving and thriving. Folks, we have to quit this. This is a very...
And what's really angering is the chemotherapy, even under the best of circumstances, is very damaging to the body. So is the radiation.
Yeah.
When my mother was being treated for cancer, which is admittedly a very long time ago, they doubled up on her. She got the chemotherapy treatment and she got the radiation. She was laid up in bed in between the chemotherapy, lost all of her hair, was rather ugly to see. And in the end, she still died. And to this day, I'm not sure if she died of the actual cancer or if she died of the chemotherapy and the radiation. And even the radiation, they're using it to try and cure you of cancer, and yet everybody understands exposure to radiation is going to give you more cancer down the road. So it's another case of a highly dubious, dangerous, maybe not that effective product that is being sold and promoted because it makes a huge amount of money. It's very expensive. It's a big money maker.
Oh, yeah.
And this is why big pharmaceutical corporations, they're opposed to low-cost treatments, even though they might actually work better. And I remember some years ago, where Bob Guccione, who was the editor of Penthouse magazine, and his wife, she edited a magazine about health. And they were champions of a drug called hydrazine sulfate, which is very inexpensive. And it's already used in places like Russia and Europe as a cancer treatment to basically keep things tapped down. It's not claimed to be a cure, but it makes the cancer survivable. You can live with it. And there was a big campaign to try and get this thing evaluated. And in the end, what happened was the National Cancer Institutes were caught rigging the tests on this medication to guarantee that they would absolutely fail. So it's all about protecting the money and protecting the power. And that's what the United States has become. And that's one of the reasons why we have the most expensive medical care in the world, and of the top 11 industrialized nations, our medical care comes in dead last.
That's not wonderful at all for the end patient. And here's a companion story, and this came out about a year ago. Do we need to do a shout out?
Yeah, we need to do a quick little shout out to our Honor affiliates who are just now rejoining the network.
Women on birth control pills or chemically treated IUDs are 30% more likely to get breast cancer. Now, this study came out last year, but in case you blinked and missed it, and of course, the American corporate media isn't going to tell you, nor will the manufacturers of these hormones tell you, nor will the advertisers tell you. And it was a doctoral dissertation done by Sanna Heikkinen from the University of Helsinki and Finnish Cancer Registry. And she evaluated what the contributions were of the use of hormonal contraceptives and hair dyes to the spectrum of breast cancer risk factors. Now, the analysis included self-reported survey data from 8,000 breast cancer patients and 20,000 controls from Finland. Now, according to the results, and this is going to knock you on your ear, use of hormonal intrauterine device was associated with a 52% increased risk of breast cancer in postmenopausal women when compared to women who were using the copper IUD. The other use of hormonal contraceptives was, by contrast, associated with 32 higher percent breast cancer among young women under 50 when compared to women who didn't use the hormonal contraceptives. And there was also a 23% observed increase in the risk of breast cancer among women who dyed their hair compared to those who didn't. So it looks like these chemicals are working on each other, Mike.
Well, they very well could. I mean, a lot of chemicals used in modern cosmetics are, in fact, endocrine stimulants or endocrine influencers. The issue is, of course, that for all of evolution, our highest drive is to reproduce. That's why we're here. All our bodies, our hair, our eyes, and everything is basically just life support for the delivery of that genetic information into the next generation. And I think it's rather foolish to say that you can just somehow turn that off and interfere with it and not have the body react in a very negative way. Because from the evolutionary point of view, if you're not able to reproduce, there's not really much point in your surviving at all. That's the way nature has set us up. And we have seen mistakes like this in the past. I remember the days of the copper IUDs, and they were very effective. But you start playing around with these hormones, and I think a big part of it is, again, like prescription psychiatric medication, they're taking a one-size-fits-all approach. That everybody's biochemistry is exactly the same, and therefore what we have working for these people here will work for everybody. Well, our biochemistries are not all exactly the same. Take the fact that we have different blood types tells you that our chemistry changes from individual to individual to individual. But behind it all, of course, again, is this attitude of we're just here to make money. We're here to sell these products, and if they cause some harm down the road, well, we'll just sell you another product. And if that doesn't work, there's always the ambulance chaser commercials that are on TV, and we're seeing so many of them. You know, did you have a mesh replacement? You are entitled to a settlement here.
And the other thing Heikkinen mentioned is that women need to be completely informed about the harms of opportunistic mammography, such as accumulation radiation burden and potential consequences of false positives or negative findings.
Well, they're backing off this idea of an annual mammogram because of the realization they were actually causing more cancers than they were finding. All right, we got a caller here on the line here. Charles in Canada, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Yeah, I was listening to the show earlier on, and you mentioned about Jordan Peterson and toxic masculinity. So I went on to YouTube, and there's actually a YouTube video that says by Jordan Peterson saying masculinity is not toxic. I watched about 5 minutes of it, and he's actually pretty reasonable. So I just thought you'd want to know that.
Yeah, no, I got that, and I got that in an email, and I did correct within the story, apparently not enough, to basically say it was that other individual who was out there pushing this idea that toxic masculinity education has to begin in kindergarten. But it's utterly ridiculous, and I think people are just starting to say, this isn't what we send our kids to school for. This is not what I want my kid being taught in kindergarten, that he should feel bad because he's a boy.
That just shouldn't be happening at all in my world.
I've got another point if you've got time. I was listening to Alex Jones today, and he mentioned that Trump has let it be known, at least through what Alex has heard, is that he doesn't want to come back for a second term, right? Now, what I sort of kept this opinion to myself up until this point because nobody else has said it, and I thought, okay, well, now that he's not coming back, to me, the major things that need to be done is you need to arrest the criminals at the top, or whoever they are, and get rid of the Federal Reserve. So if he's going to leave without having done those things, then what has Mr. Trump really done? He's pumped the tires, he created nationalism, he's increased the possibility of economic growth, but all he's really done is increase the ROI for the real owners. So my original thought was this, is that Mr. Trump, who is a very competent narcissist, was preferred over the incompetent psychopath, which is what Madam Clinton was. And I think Saunders might have beaten Trump, and the people who control things said, no, we can't have Trump not getting in because he is actually move us towards the direction we want to get into, because really Madam Clinton was talking about war with Russia and so on. And that obviously is not where you wanted to go. So I think he may, and just because you're a banker doesn't necessarily mean that you're a suicidal crazy person. I just think they were looking at the ROI. Like you like to say all banker war, or all wars are banker wars. I would suggest all elections are banker elections.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a very
Yes.
good observation there.
Yeah.
But again, this is going to come as a shock to Trump's 2020 campaign manager, who's apparently already set up shop here. But Trump may just be realizing the inevitable. He has turned his back on his base. He's turned his back on those of us who supported him in the independent media. And the only way I'll support Trump in 2020 is if Hillary steps in again. Other than that, I'm shopping for a new candidate, and I'm looking very long and hard at Tulsi Gabbard.
Right, right. Well, I was sort of given this idea by a Canadian filmmaker, Daniel Estulin, who said that Trump is working for the old money in Europe, and all he wants to do is get a better ROI on the asset of the world, because they believe they own the world, and I guess you could make that case. And he has sort of made things a lot better in that regard. So Estulin's point is that just because he's going this way, he is just looking for the overall assets of the really old money that's sort of hidden, as opposed to the Rockefeller money, which is what is represented by Madam Clinton and their ilk. So anyway.
All right. Well, it's wars between money, and it always has been.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go, and we're going to turn things back over to the lovely Lady Claire.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that, and it struck me as so funny. I have to wonder whether the Obamas and Oprah Winfrey are going to be getting in on this. Broadcasters hope to counter ad skipping by replacing ads with short, inspirational videos. And you and I have a DVR, and we use it quite frequently if we're not up late enough, because we're up very early to catch the news of the day. And the industry's response to DVRs hasn't been to embrace its evolution, but file a bunch of lawsuits and harass companies that were trying to give consumers what they wanted. And now, as cord cutting has grown, thanks to sky-high prices and ad break fatigue, the industry's overall response was to first raise prices like it was going out of fashion, then try to speed up or edit down programs in the hopes of shoving more ads into each viewing hour. And needless to say, they were shocked at realizing that this wasn't a solution.
No, it really wasn't.
Yeah.
And here's the irony. And if you're my age, you will remember that when cable TV first came along, the promise was going to be that you would have TV in your home, and because you were paying a monthly fee, there wouldn't be commercials on it. And everybody jumped on board of that. I'm old enough to remember when HBO had only one channel.
Yes.
And it wasn't even on cable. It was on this distributed radio system. You had this little antenna on the roof and everything. But it was commercial free. And then the cable TV companies came on in. They established their franchises. They worked very aggressively against over-the-air broadcasters. And by the way, this over-the-air digital broadcasting, at least here in Hawaii, turned out to be a disaster. It really doesn't work as well as the analog does. So now they've established a cable monopoly, and you're paying your price for your cable TV, and you got the ads back. And yes, in their greed, they are shoving more ads at you, and you're getting less program and content. Now, a lot of people will use the DVR to get around that by just recording the show that they want to see. Then later on, they'll go through and they'll hit the fast forward. Latest industry situation is they will disable the fast forward button on the playback. So you have to sit there and watch through the commercials. And with this kind of abusive treatment, coupled with the very high costs, I'm frankly not surprised that people are cutting off cable TV in favor of online streaming on demand services, which tend to be a lot less expensive. The only reason we still have cable TV at all is it's also our internet connection. And I wish we could find an alternative for both, because I've mentioned before, we're with Spectrum, and we're paying for 300 megabits per second.
Not getting it.
We're not getting it. We're still getting it about 60. And what really annoys me is I actually got an ad in the mail from Spectrum the other day saying, we have rewired your neighborhood for the new, faster internet, and now's the time to sign up. And of course, I'm already signed up. I'm signed up for the fastest it can be, and I'm not getting it.
Nope.
We're not getting it. And Spectrum actually got sued by New York
Yes.
For advertising speed that they never delivered. We need some of that here.
Absolutely. I mean, NBC has been even thinking about bringing back the bygone era of product placement, something that could go so wrong if not handled well.
Oh, I had to deal with that too
Yeah.
when I was in the industry. Somebody actually made a comedy movie called And God Said.
Yes.
And the movie is about these producers who want to make an updated version of the 10 Commandments. And everything goes wrong on the production, and they're losing money hand over fist. And so at the end, they have to resort to product placement. So for the big scene coming down from Mount Sinai, they wound up with Soupy Sales playing Moses.
Oh, no.
And he's coming down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of 10 Commandments and a bag of Doritos. Now, what's really interesting, a lot of movies use product placement, and I'll give you a little bit of Hollywood trivia that you may not have noticed if you're a science fiction fan. In the movie The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis, there's a scene where he's trying to evade the police, and he runs into this truck full of hamburger boxes. And in the syndicated video version, they look just like red and yellow. There's nothing there. In the original theatrical release, it was McDonald's. There was your product placement. There was actually a lot of product placement in that film.
Oh, yeah. But
and
it's
that's
a
how the
beautiful
business
film.
works. Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, we're coming up now on a commercial break. And when we come on back, we're going to get serious again. We've had enough frivolity and
enough fun.
Levity. We are not here for laughs. Let me move your elbow here.
All right.
And we'll be right back after these few words.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read a few from Amazon.com. Dr. Sam Serino reviewed the Extendivite product. Good ingredients, feeling much better since taking product. It seems that the tablets work well. Once again, thank you for your product. My acid reflux has really improved thanks to the Extendivite. Together with my thumb joints, the pain is gone and I'm able to grip things much better. My friend has peripheral arterial disorder and their lower legs were hurting in a red color, but thankfully, there has been a significant improvement. Kind regards, Janice. My husband feels a big difference using Extendivite. Thank you. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones here. Erica in Kansas. Aloha, Erica. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi. I want to encourage you to check your router and check it against the factory specs. And the reason why I am telling you this is because I have a 24 down, 8 up router that my ISP went in and changed the firmware. And now I've just got 24 down and 4 up. And you might ought to check your speed against what you're paying for. Check your upload speed because you're uploading to the internet.
Well, the upload speed is always going to be slower than the download speed. It's because the whole system is biased toward being content delivery. But I mean, I've actually been on the phone with the people of Spectrum who will go into the cable modem that they provided me and say that it's set for 300 megabits per second, and they just have no idea why it's not actually getting 300 megabits per second. It must be something upstream.
Probably during activation, they reduced the number of upload and download channels.
Well, again, according to the technicians at Spectrum, the router is set up the way it should be for 300 megabits per second. But again, Spectrum has a long history of advertising one speed, charging for a speed, and not delivering it. And so as long as I'm able to do this show and get it out there smoothly and not have interruptions, I'm willing to live with this. But I don't consider it acceptable at all. I really don't. Anything else, Eric?
My war has been going on for nearly 2 years with my cable provider, and I've got caught. One other thing, if you have Windows 10 Professional build number 1803, you need to watch out because it is crashing computers all over the place.
Well, good thing for me that my Windows 10 computer is sitting in a closet gathering dust.
Yeah, mine has been crashing for the past 2 to 3 weeks.
Ow, that's never good.
Nope.
Never good.
No, my biggest problem with Windows 10 is I haven't found anything useful that it will do for me. I'm thinking about maybe swapping out this older machine on the audio chain with it because I can't think of anything else to do with this Windows 10 machine. But I can always use another Windows 7 machine somewhere else.
I hear you. I've got 2 laptops that I converted over to Linux, and the jury is still out on it.
Well, I love Linux. Obviously, my web server's running Linux, and as I mentioned the other day, I have a couple of those Raspberry Pis, and those are fun. It reminds me of the days when I was a kid when computers were fun to use. And not just this constant having to work on them and patch on them to get them to do anything useful at all. Anyway, Eric, we're going to let you go here. We need to get on back to some news here. Thank you very much. Claire, what's next on your talking points list?
Well, I think I would probably like to talk about it after the break.
After the break. All right. Well,
Yes.
then let me go on in and do one of my stories here.
Okay.
The Arctic sea ice is now thicker than it was all the way back in 1955. Ooh, it's that gosh darn human-caused global warming. And CO2 levels were far lower in 1955 than they are today. So again, the link that Al Gore tried to create between CO2 and global warming, it doesn't work out when you look at the real data. And the dead giveaway about it is that all of these global warming experts, when you say the real data isn't matching, and they say, oh, we're not relying on the real data, we rely on our computer simulations to tell us what's going to be happening. And the simulations say the world is warming and it's all your fault, and you will atone by giving us your carbon tax money.
Yeah.
Now, despite the increasing hostility between the United States, Russia is still delivering rocket engines to the United States, even as they're expressing concern over Donald Trump's new Space Force.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently there is an American company called Blue Origin that is building a replacement for the Russian RD-180. And they've apparently had a successful test. In fact, it actually produced a slightly higher specific impulse than the engineers said it would. Specific impulse, of course, being a measure of the power of the engine, how much it can lift, how much thrust it will generate.
Well, that's got to be very exciting for them and for everyone who loves space.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember when I got to tour Rockwell's fabrication plant for rocket engines, and that was a lot of fun. All right, we're going to take another break for commercials, and then we'll be back here with the lovely Lady Claire after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Most basic diseases are caused by yeast in the gut and metals in the liver, and we all have a bit of both. The garlic in Extendivite has a yeast-killing effect in the gut while also helping the sulfur enzyme in the liver get rid of the metals. Extendivite just may improve your overall health. Products like Extendivite are the only way we are going to get our society healthy. And if you're waiting for the government and pharmaceutical care to solve your health problems, you're going to have a long, disappointing wait, I think. Extendivite is a complete formula for extended life in the new millennium. 80 can be the new 60. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And as a matter of fact, we do have a caller waiting on the line. Bob behind enemy lines. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Mike, it might be actually what's on your mind. You've been looking for an alternative platform to your YouTube video thing, right?
Well, I'm looking at an alternative for all of them. Unfortunately, some of the ones I'd already signed up with have already gone out of business. So I'm hoping.
Don't worry about that. The one I'm talking about is about to go into business.
Okay.
Are you interested?
Yes.
Called Real.video. Real as opposed to fake. Video as opposed to photography, right? Real.video.
All right. I'll take a look
Have you
at
looked
it.
into that yet? I really would appreciate it. It's actually launched by somebody whom I've got a lot of respect for. You might look into it, and I think you'll agree with me. But that it's basically a new YouTube alternative. It's getting ready to launch here in July, and I encourage you and the listeners to look into it, because if you want a lack of censorship, if you want to be able to actually go out and express your mind, this may be the place for it.
Is it going to support live streaming?
Yes. In fact, I'm looking at their webpage right now. Hold on, just give me a second here, and it looks like they're able to do. Yeah, they've got live streaming feature, and they can do. Yeah, hi Claire, how are you?
I'm doing
I'm
well.
so glad to see you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, your
Good to be
husband
here.
needs to give you a lot more airtime.
Well,
He should bring you on at least 3 times a week, because
Oh.
we all value your opinion.
Thank you, but I do.
Well,
have a
thank you for the phone call.
No, thank you.
No,
Well,
seriously, thank
so
you for
much.
that suggestion.
So, well, just to get back to the point real quick, and
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you guys' time and everything you have to say to me, because I agree with 96% of it. The other 4% proves I'm sane. They've got a scalable
Well,
video
bless you for
infrastructure
doing
on
so.
this real
I
video.
like that. I like
Well,
that.
God bless you guys. Really,
Yeah.
God bless you guys so much, really, every day. Look, they've got a scalable video infrastructure ability on this, and it handles over a billion video views per month.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting ready to set up the real thing. The person who's setting this up just got really disgusted with YouTube, and they're doing the right thing. So I
All right,
encourage
well, I
you
will
to check
definitely
into
look
it.
at it
And
over
one more
the week.
time, that's Real.video. Real.video.
Hard to
Please
forget
do
that
check
one.
into it.
Nope.
Hard to forget that one.
All right. Thanks so much.
Yeah. As always, guys, I love you. Aloha.
Aloha.
Great day.
All right. Aloha, nui, nui, nui. And thank you for the phone call. And we're going to get back to Claire now. You have an interesting story I see in your talking points.
I am so excited about this, and probably so are families in North Korea who were separated by the Korean War. And the officials from both North and South today are starting talks on resuming reunions of families divided by the 50 to 53 Korean War as the rivals boost reconciliation amid a diplomatic push to resolve the North Korean nuclear crisis. Now, Mike, how close do you really believe that reunification is here?
Well, we know the Koreans have been talking about it for
Yeah.
a long time. There was a real push for it about 5 or 6 years ago. And by the way, the Korean War didn't run from 1950 to 1953.
No.
It's still ongoing. It
I know.
technically never ended.
We had an armistice, but we did not have a peace treaty, right?
That's absolutely right. And this is an important step to allow families who were separated by the war to start getting on back together. As you know, North Korea has returned the remains of 200 Americans who were killed at the start of the Korean War back to the United States. They're going through all the right motions.
Yes.
They're sending unified Korean teams to various athletic and cultural events all over the world, which is why I don't understand Trump's bonehead move of just extending the Korean sanctions an extra year. It was the wrong thing to do at the wrong time.
The optics are terrible, Mike. They're just terrible. And apparently there's going to be a cross-border military hotline communication channels and field joint teams in some events at the upcoming Asian Games in Indonesia.
Yes.
This is not a bad thing at all. People are working together. They're starting to cooperate. And Friday's talks are supposed to set up the exact date and location for the reunions and figure out the number of people participating with both Koreas. So I'm at least a little bit hopeful that this is going to happen, that it will expand. Again, I don't understand President Trump and these sanctions. It doesn't seem to make sense to me.
No, it really doesn't. And I know that the White House basically said it's part of this maximum pressure to get Kim Jong-un to go along. But whoever came up with that does not understand the Asian mindset at all. And they don't respond well to this kind of nice, hard.
And the next thing I have, which kind of surprised me, but not really, there's a farm bill with huge giveaways to pesticide industry, and it's just passed the House. And it's a farm bill that opponents say would harm endangered species, land conservation, small-scale farmers, and food stamp recipients. It was passed by a vote of 213 to 211, with every House Democrat and Republican
20 Republicans voting against it,
voting against it. And apparently there is such a critter as the Center for Biological Diversity. Now, a similar farm bill failed to pass in the House in May when it was caught in the crossfire over immigration reform. But unfortunately, the new bill still retains most of its bad conditions and provisions. The bill, officially titled H.R. 2, the Agriculture and Nutrition Act of 2018, is a major win for the pesticide industry, which spent $43 million on lobbying this congressional season. Wrap your mind around that, folks. $43 million is a lot of money. And I mean, glyphosate has been proven to be cancer-causing. And yet, these people from the pesticide industry, read Monsanto, are just very happy as anything could be to get Congress to pass this.
Well, apparently the new bill gets rid of a requirement that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service assess a pesticide's impact on endangered species before the EPA approves it. In other words, if you're an endangered species, you might soon be extinct, and nobody's really going to care one way or the other.
Yeah. And this bill has been dubbed the Extinction Act of 2018. The Center for Biological Diversity Government Affairs Director Brent Hartle said, if it becomes law, this bill will be remembered for generations as the hammer that drove the final nail into the coffin of some America's most vulnerable species. And it would also be devastating for land conservation efforts. It would allow logging and mining in Alaska forests, including the world's largest intact temperate rainforest, the Tongass, and get rid of the Conservation Stewardship Program, which funds farmers who engage in conservation of their land, according to Environment America.
In other words, they're disincentivizing good environmental farming practices.
Stewardship. And God bless her again, Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii opposed the bill and said it favored agribusiness over small farmers.
Well, of course, that's what we do in the House of Representatives. That's what we do under fascism.
The Farm Bill rewards mega agribusinesses in Wall Street while slashing funding for nutrition, rural agricultural development, clean energy program, cutting key agriculture research and development efforts critically needed to help fight invasive species like the coffeeberry borer, Macadamia felted cockade, and more. She said that in a statement that was put up by Big Island Now. And it also has some changes to the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Food stamps.
Yeah, food stamps. House Republicans have pushed for measures that would increase the number of recipients who must work in order to receive food stamps, including limiting states' abilities to waive those requirements in areas with poor economies. That's, that doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't. Tulsi Gabbard is absolutely right. This is a bill. It's a giveaway to agribusiness at the expense of ordinary people and small farmers. And again, it's another aspect of seeing our government devolve into economic fascism.
Yeah.
And that's really where we are. Our government is for sale to the highest bidder.
Yep.
And it took a long time to get here. But it's painful to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And the realization that the true nature of the government isn't what we were taught it was in school.
Yep.
The good news is people are waking up and they're seeing the true nature of the government. And at some point, everybody's just going to say, I'm not filling out the paperwork anymore.
Yep.
I'm not obeying your dictates. I'm not sending my kid to your war.
Yep.
And that's it. I'm having nothing more to do with you. Go make trouble for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. And this awakening has taken a long time to get here.
Well, look how hard we're brainwashed when we're very young in school.
Yeah.
It's like the story about brainwashing toxic masculinity at the kindergarten level. That's intentional.
Yeah.
Because when you're that young, you don't understand the big people are full of it.
Yeah.
And that's when you're indoctrinated with your core beliefs around which your personality will evolve as you grow older. There's an imaginary plane made up in the sky. The government is good. Bankers are honest. Corporate media is telling you everything that you need to know.
Right.
All of that is drilled into us when we're little tiny kids. And then we grow up with our personality surrounding it.
Yes.
It is our core.
Yeah.
And one of the giveaways of this mechanism is when you ask somebody, what they are, and they'll say, I am a Republican, or I am a Christian. They become that which is believed in. And that link to the beliefs as part of the personality is so hard and so binding.
Yeah.
It takes an intense force of will to break it.
Yep.
And when you go through that, it can be very disorienting because literally a part of your identity vanishes. And it's very disorienting to have it happen.
Yeah.
We had a caller who called in, described it once, and of course I've been through it myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't fun, but it was necessary.
Yes. Apparently, President Trump has called for the Pentagon to make beds available for 20,000 kids at U.S. military bases.
I say let those children make their own beds.
Well,
that'll teach them skills.
Yeah. Apparently, responsibility for unaccompanied children and families who arrive in the U.S. via the southern border appeared to shift to the U.S. military yesterday when the Trump administration has actually called on the Pentagon to make preparations to house 20,000 kids on military bases.
Well, this might actually be
Yikes.
a good thing because it's come on out. One of the reasons it's taking so long to process these illegal immigrants and send them back over the border is the detention centers where they're currently housed are private for-profit corporations, like the privatized prisons. And their financial incentive is to arrange for these illegal immigrants to stay in the United States as long as possible while they're being processed at a charge of $500 a day.
Whoa.
Charged to the
Per
American
kid?
tax. So it's a big money maker.
Wow.
And so what Trump may be getting ready to do is say the military will house these people and the private for-profit corporations are you're out of work. You're out of business now. And this will allow Trump to start implementing a system of a much more rapid turnaround for these illegal immigrants. Because if you really think about it, there shouldn't be any more than at most a 24-hour turnaround. Catch them on day one, verify that they're not legal citizens, next day or later that same afternoon or the next morning, fling them back over the fence. Get one of those big trebuchets from the Punkin Chunkin people and just, woo, there they go.
No, we don't. No. We don't want to do anything that's going to hurt people, but they're going to have to get back on their own side of their own border.
Absolutely,
because
they do.
This is draining
Apparently,
this country.
there is a candidate running for president of Mexico who's campaigning on a promise of literally moving the entire Mexican population into the United States.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that one come across the desk just today. And if he gets elected, we could literally see a new war with Mexico.
Yeah.
Remember the Alamo.
Yes. And apparently, following President Trump's executive order, in which he directed federal agencies to prepare detention facilities to house families together to end the forcible separation of families. Now, remember, folks, this was not a big thing when President Bush did it. When President Obama did it, it was really not a big thing.
It wasn't a big thing throughout Trump's first term. It only became a big thing when the Inspector General report was released.
Yeah.
That's what it's political theater. It's a distraction. They don't want Americans paying attention to what happened with the FBI back in 2016 in the Hillary investigation. And it's clear this is the issue they're going to campaign on for the November elections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And apparently there have been a lot of unaccompanied minors coming across.
Yeah, that's another reason why there's so many children in these youth facilities, because they're coming across the border without any adults.
Yeah.
A lot of them are being used by drug traffickers to smuggle
to
across.
be mules,
as drug mules. Some of them may have been trafficked, but the Democrats, they're not interested in the solution. They just want to maximize this politically.
Yeah.
To just go after Donald Trump. They want to get rid of Trump.
Yeah. By any means necessary, by the way. Apparently, some children have been drugged and given forced injections at a Texas detention facility, and there's a lawsuit. At least one detention center has been forcibly medicating them and have made them dizzy, lethargic, and even incapacitated. And there's a gentleman who's commenting. It's an expert forensic psychologist by the name of Mark Mills. And he says, you don't have to be a rocket scientist here. It looks like they're trying to control the agitation and aggressive behavior with antipsychotic drugs.
Well, by golly, we should be using tasers then.
Oh, I mean, this is ridiculous. These kids are already traumatized enough.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But again, the ultimate blame for this rests with the adults.
The parents.
The adults. Well, not all of the adults crossing with children are the actual parents.
Yeah.
Which again raises the issue, how many of these kids are being trafficked, to the sicko pervs?
And we don't know.
No, we don't really know.
Idea.
We don't really know. But yeah, that's where the blame is. These adults who bring these children across the border or who bring the children up to the border and send them over. That's who's to blame on this.
Yeah.
And it's exacerbated by the Democrats who are so desperate for illegal immigrants to vote in the election that they're breaking all the laws and just allowing this to run rampant all over the country. All right, we got to take a break for commercials. Back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. Airoutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. Airoutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to Airoutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at Airoutfitting.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
If you are one of the millions of people who get migraines, you need to know about MiGrelief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist who created MiGrelief, the patented dietary supplement that addresses nutritional deficiencies in adults and children with migraines. Thousands of physicians and pharmacists recommend MiGrelief.
Call 800-MIG-7354 or visit MIG911.com.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way. Can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, last segment of our program today. And Claire, you have another story for us.
Yeah, I do. And this is really disturbing. I don't think I'm going to go to Raleigh, North Carolina anytime soon. And a North Carolinian judge just released a series of very disturbing videos last month showing an horrific attack on a guy who'd done nothing but walk down the road. Guy's name was Kyron Dwayne Hinton, 29. He hadn't harmed anyone. He had committed no crime. He was surrounded by police, mauled by a canine, pistol whipped, kicked, punched, and stomped on by this group of police for nearly 5 minutes. And apparently, there was another video from later on that night in which officers were instructed by their sergeant to cover up what had happened. The video is now part of the investigation and has ensnared yet another cop. It happened on April 3rd, but these were so awful that the officers involved have actually been charged with it.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the police are out of control. I mean, the whole government's out of control. We've got to start having accountability again.
Yeah.
For these people in the government that we're supposed to yield our authority and our freedoms to.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done with, you know, restraint and responsibility.
Yeah. And Jeff Sessions, our Attorney General, where the heck were you when this happened? Why does it continue to happen against innocent people, many times against people of color? It shouldn't be happening, and yet he talks about a war on the cops. But I think it's just the converse, Mike. There's a war on civilians.
Yeah, there is. The actual statistics do not support the claim that there is a war on the police officers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that they made on up to try and explain away why the cops are being more aggressive and brutal in their approach to ordinary people. But it's a myth.
Yeah.
It's a myth. I think it's a combination of the police training with these Israeli security services.
Oh, boy.
It's a combination of the fact that the police tend to be higher per capita users of these prescription psychiatric medications. And the combination has resulted in a police force that has gone from to protect and to serve to we treat you like a king.
As in Rodney.
As in Rodney.
Yeah, yeah. I don't understand how this can continue to the present day. And I think that we need to be responsible, respectful. There are good cops out there. I know my brother was one of them, and then he retired. So there are good cops out there, but this kind of behavior.
And we have another really great cop who lives just.
Oh, yeah. She's wonderful.
Yeah, catty corner.
Yeah. And she's just a really lovely human being with this beautiful 3-year-old who we both love.
And the 3-year-old comes over and plays with the fossils.
Yes. He loves doing that.
He loves dinosaurs. I'm going to make him a paleontologist yet.
I think you will. But Jeff Sessions, if anyone from your offices?
Well, hang on a second.
Okay.
It's jurisdiction.
Yeah.
This is a state court case.
Yes. Okay. Not a federal.
Not federal.
Okay.
Sessions would be overstepping. All right, there's the music. Time for us to get on out of here on this Pow Hunter Friday and get into the weekend. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please take what you learn here, share it with everyone that you know. Use email or face-to-face conversation. Forget about using Google and Facebook. They're a total waste of time unless your entire universe consists of funny cat videos. So have a good weekend. Have a safe weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Aloha, America.